Okay, now something very unexpected has happened recently within the Korean cinema universe. Now recently, three films from Korea has been selected for the Cannes Film Festival. Only one of them were officially in the competition, but the other two are still selected to show at the festival. One of them is basically this big first Korean zombie film called A Train to Busan. It hasn't been released in Korea yet, so I'm not sure if it's good or not. Maybe it kind of looks like World War Z. I'm not sure. The other one is called, well, if it's literally translated, it's called The Lady, and it's directed by the guy who made Old Boy. So I haven't seen it yet, though. I'm hearing good stuff about it, so I'm not really sure. I'm not going to talk about it. But the other one, the surprising one, is this film called The Wailing, and in Korean it's called Koksung. And this film, the surprising thing about this movie is that it's already being limited. It's already being released in America as we know it right now. Although it's a limited release, the fact that it's almost coinciding with the release in Korea is kind of surprising. I've never seen this happen before. So I was hyped. So I went to see it, and it's definitely not a film for the mainstream. I don't feel like it's not mainstream friendly. It's not the kind of films that you'll go see with your friends and discuss it with jokingly afterwards. No, this is the kind of horror movie that's gonna stay with you, and you're gonna think about it for think about it way too much till you get home, and you'll be way too scared of everything around you. But there are flaws, and I guess I kind of need to talk about the plot though, because it is a limited release and not a lot of people really know what it's about. Now, basically, it's a little town called Koksung in Korea, obviously, and there's a lot of suicides and murders happening, and we're not sure if it's a suicide. If it's suicides or murders, maybe it's a ghost, maybe it's haunted, maybe the whole place is just screwed up, maybe it's a disease. We're not sure. It doesn't really explain at first. Now, the main characters are this the main character is this police guy, and he's trying to investigate around these murders, and he gets to meet these really eccentric characters like the shaman, which is basically a Korean version of a priest who does exorcisms. This weird Japanese guy who lives in the mountains, so basically he's like the big suspect, and this weird woman who just lurks around the town. But then what we see is that these people who were in these suicides or murders usually have these weird boils kind of coming up around the necks. But then the police guy, suddenly sees these boils happening on his daughter's neck. So basically, he has a motive to do whatever the hell he needs to do. Solve this case. Why this is going on. So that's the plot. And here are usually, because the film is getting mixed reviews from the mainstream, the critics are loving it, but I feel like some of the critics in the mainstream are not really enjoying the film, and I think there's a reason. But we're gonna get into the flaws first, because this film is definitely a very different movie. The flaws, and these aren't my flaws, these are flaws that most people are saying are flaws. I only agree with one of them, though. The other two I feel like can easily be debunked. So, here's the first flaw. They feel like the ending is weird and doesn't make any sense. I feel like the ending makes perfect sense if you really think about it, but that would be spoiling way too many things, so we're not going to talk about that. But we're going to talk about it in brief later. It's a slew of genre mixes that doesn't really work. I'm going to explain that later too, because I feel like there's an explanation for that. But the one thing that I will admit is definitely agreeable is the fact that there are moments where certain actions of the characters are very forced and they just don't make sense. They just feel like they're there just to move the story forward. That is very true. There are certain moments in there, and there's this one scene where the shaman guy is trying to exorcise the girl, the daughter of the main character, and the main character sees his daughter in pain, so he stops the exorcism by just thrashing around the whole ceremony. Now here's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. If I were him, I would not stop the exorcism. I would let him go on and at least fix my damn daughter. Mostly because she is activating, she is reacting, so it must be working. But no, just because she's in pain, he reacts. Now, as a father figure, that might make sense, but it just feels very forced, considering the actions he does before, because he is a very extreme guy at times. But that's about it. That's the flaw. That's the one big flaw I feel like doesn't make sense. Also, at the end, there's one more thing. At the end, the villain is kind of revealed, but when you learn who the villain is, it doesn't really seem to have a motive. We never get an explained motive. Now, an evil without a motive can be scary, but in this case, it feels more like an evil without a point. So that really does become a problem. But that's the end of the flaws. From here on, it's all about the good stuff. Now, with the genre mixing, there is a bit of comedy, some slapstick, some horror, some mystery elements all around the film. And here's the thing: while watching the movie, I was honestly just reminded of a lot of what I saw in Twin Peaks by David Lynch. There's subtle humor. It's not over the top, in your face humor. The humor is in the slight actions, in the slight gestures, and the slight tones of the speaking of the characters. It's not over the top, it's not direct, it's very subtle. It's not laugh out loud funny. And I think that's a very important thing, because what's happening is creepy. What's happening is scary. There is a scene where this red-eyed, devil-looking old man who's just all naked chases the policeman in a haunted, burned-down house. That stuff is scary as hell. But before that, there's this humorous scene happening. Like, by using this contrast, not only does the film successfully makes this very unsettling, humorous moments, but it also naturally progresses into this really scary scene. So, I feel like the film does a really good job. Like, there are other things that are very much so like Twin Peaks. I made the list right here. Like, there's this, like, the Red Eye Monster, quite frankly, is kind of like the Bob character in Twin Peaks. The humor is very subtle, like I said, but the situation is still very horrifying. There's some melodrama here. There's a melodrama, but it's done in a very cheesy way that it almost feels cheeky. But it doesn't get away from the whole atmosphere of the film. It's still about sorrow. Most of the melodrama is not about love. It's sorrow and despair. And they overdo it because the film does inspire some sorrow and despair. It still works. And the atmosphere, quite frankly, is just strange. It's just a strange film. When it's scary, it is scary. When it's slightly funny, it does get slightly funny. But the overall thing feels very deranged and very strange, and it almost feels like the film is alive, which is always a good thing. When the film feels alive, that's when you know you made a good movie. The main character, a lot of people are saying that he feels like just a giant goof. I totally disagree. Like, he trips a few times. That doesn't mean he's a goof. That just means he's tripping. People trip down especially when someone's attacking them. The character as a father is very believable, very strong-minded, very willing to save his daughter. It's kind of really investable. Like, the family thing in the whole film is a very investable idea, and with the acting, it's just really good. But right next to the main guy who plays the police guy, the daughter is really good at acting. Like, here's the thing, and this might be a very controversial opinion. I never really thought Linda Blair's performance in The Exorcist was that good. I feel like the dubbed voice and the makeup really kind of took about 50% of the acting. With this girl, there's no makeup going on. There's no dubbing going on. She's screaming her own voice. She's swearing in her own voice. She's glaring. She's doing all of this by herself. And it's some of the scariest stuff you will ever see done by a child. Right next to, like, the little kid from The Omen and stuff. You know, it's some of the creepiest acting I've ever seen. It's some of the best swearing I've seen from a kid. You just gotta see it for yourself. Like, me talking about it is not enough. You need to see this. This performance is some star-making quality stuff right here. Also, it is a genuinely scary film. Like, the old man, has this strange, threatening feeling going on. When we get into his house, we see some satanic stuff going on in the back, in the rooms in the back, and it's genuinely creepy. The music is very unsettling. Like the exorcism scene has this really loud exorcism music, like Korean exorcism music, which is basically like traditional music done in a very creepy way. And it feels tiring, it's draining, and you get into it. And it's so unsettling at the same time because what's happening is just so unsettling. Like ghosts, like spirits coming into your mind, demons, Satanism, and at the same time, we don't know what's causing all of these things. So it just adds to the scare factor. Also because, like I said, the sense of despair and sorrow is genuinely real. When we see the daughter being sick, and when we see the daughter kind of acting like she's possessed, we genuinely care. And we genuinely just care about the whole thing. And here's the thing, at a certain point in the film, we talk about the devil in this movie. And I like the fact that the devil is actually portrayed in a very Asian way. Now, what I'm saying by that is that we have our own image of the devil in Korea. It's not the horns and the tail and all that. We don't have a pitchfork. It's more like it's more like the troll under the bridge in like the Three Billy Ghost story. It's more, yeah, the devil looks more like a troll who kills you, and we get to see him once in the movie, like in full form, and it's genuinely creepy, but it's also very Asian, which is something I kind of admired. Like, I've never seen this kind of a devil in a Korean film, or any film for that matter, so it was a very original thing to do, to actually base yourself to the source material. Like, what did you know? I do really like the mood of the whole film, which is like, because it's like a small town, in the background there's a lot of mountains, and the mountains feel gargantuan. The rain actually adds to the suspense and the despair. It's very dim lighted, so it's genuinely much more creepier. And like I said, the mountains feel like it's gonna just eat the whole scene up. Like, it's genuinely beautiful, but it's threatening, it's big, and it's creepy as hell. And I think this is basically where it really comes to the best part of the film. The mystery element of the movie is done so well. At first, I thought it was just going to be like a very cheap whodunit kind of story, but no, it leads you to so many mysterious levels. Like, suddenly it's this guy who might be the killer. Suddenly it's this guy. Suddenly, there might not even be a killer. Maybe it's a disease. We don't know. Maybe the girl's not really possessed by a demon. Maybe she's just having a psychotic breakdown. Maybe she's a psychopath. Or maybe not. Maybe it's this guy now. So it takes you to all of these different ways, and it actually kind of convinces you. It convinces you with each way it goes. But it never feels muddled. Like, at the very end, even at the very end, we kind of come down to two figures who might be causing the problem. And we're not even sure if these two figures are right. They're, like, saying different things, but each one is also very trustworthy, but each one is also very unreliable at the same time. Even to the end, the mystery is still going on. Even to the last 10 minutes. Mystery is still on. We still don't know who's doing this, or what's doing this, or whatever the hell's going on at all. But the reason it doesn't feel muddled is because the explanations are all out there. It's just that one piece of the puzzle that's remaining. And if this puzzle comes into the place, then we'll be able to see the whole picture. But because of this one puzzle, we're not sure if it's this thing or that thing. And it's just, but the other puzzle pieces are in place. We see the whole picture. We just see the main core of the picture, which is the last puzzle piece. And that just makes the mystery so intriguing, so genuinely convincing and mysterious. Like, and when the mystery is kind of solved, it just becomes much more surprising. Like, I'm not gonna spoil the film, and if you've seen it, and if you want me to, like, explain what about the ending, I would love to, because the ending is genuinely abstract, mysterious, and almost it's not a certain ending. It's not a defiant ending. It's still very mysterious. A lot of things are still in the shadows, but it's a very interesting ending. And to me, it makes way too much sense. And the ending in itself is creepy as hell too. So, yeah, the mystery is amazing. The mystery is very, yeah, the ending is subtle. Um, and weird and all that, but it makes perfect sense and it just makes the film much more interesting. What did I? Yeah, and it's very tragic too because I'm just gonna tell you, it doesn't end on a happy ending. Like it's not like the last minute jump scare kind of a bad ending. No, it just ends tragically. And it's amazing because the whole film was never happy. The whole film was always filled with despair, filled with sorrow. It just goes with the flow. Amazing. Amazing ending. I love it. But the force stuff is still there, so I can't say it's really a perfect film, and because it's it's just been released, so I have a hard time calling it a masterpiece. I would definitely give this film a 3.5 out of 4. Like I said, if you love horror, you're probably gonna dig this. If you love mystery movies, you're gonna dig this. If you love Korean films, you're gonna dig this. If you hate forced moments in films, you might hate this movie, but those moments are in the few. Most of the film is genuinely done in a very smart way. So yeah, The Wailing, Koksung, 3.5 out of 4. Bye.